there, welcome back. I'm going to talk about The Penguin now. Penguin is the new TV show it's a spin-off from the Batman film from Matt Reeves from years ago. Batman's a really good Batman film. I very much enjoyed it. And in the film they had the Penguin character played by Colin Farrell in a lot of makeup. And it was a nicely different performance by Farrell because he looked very much not like himself, and he was playing this guy who was pretty much in support, but he was a rising figure within the crime syndicate within that film. And by the end of the film, basically all hell had broken loose within this crime syndicate. It's like the top guy had been killed, and the streets were going to be chaos. This film, this show is an 8-part show that takes place between Batman and the Batman Part 2, which is going to start filming soon, from the time I'm doing this video. This is about the Penguin's rise to power, which should be in place when you get to Batman 2. The story is very deliberately told, and it is slowly unwinding parts of the psychological makeup of the Penguin, so you understand who he is, what he is, and why he's a villain. But for a while you have sympathy for him for certain things, but you know that he's a dangerous guy always. There's always the thing with him is he's always dangerous. He just has some soft elements in his character. So it appears early on in the series. His slow rise to power is done very carefully because even though it actually begins from an impulse when he loses temper with the son of the dead boss who mocks him for something or kills him impulsively, and that one death causes chaos and causes us to have to lie a lot to get around it. It just causes chaos throughout all the different families, and it creates divisions that actually Oz can take care of and actually use to get himself further up, slowly but surely, through a lot of painful actions. That's juxtaposed with Sophia, who's the daughter of the dead crime lord who had just come out of Arkham Asylum, where she was put in and is thought of as a psycho killer who killed lots of women. So everyone in the family want nothing to do with her. They want her to just leave Gotham. Do not visit. Just leave. She's going to stick around because she thinks she's got a grudge against everybody. She thinks she was set up. Well, she knows she was set up because she knows she didn't kill these women. And those two orbit each other because to her, Oz sold her out. To Oz, he just passed information on. So it's always ambiguous, like who's to blame, because what she did, they got her caught, did seem like a silly decision to make, a naive decision to make in front of one of her father's employees. And what he did seem like something a lot of employees would do, but it also was something she thought he wouldn't tell, and he did. So it's like a complicated thing where you can see where both people are coming from. Because from the outside it looked like she was doing something against her family, even though she really wasn't. But that's a minor thing. That's set up in the first half of the story to be something major, and it turns out no. That's just the building block to the chaos that's going to flow from this rivalry between these two characters who circle around each other in the first half of the series before they become bitter rivals in the second half of the series. And it's wonderful because Christine Molinati as Sophia and having Farrell really just butt heads throughout. They're able for each other in the scenes always. They don't trust each other, but they've got a way of respect for each other's talents. And they're the two people in the organisations that people kind of tend to underestimate, because she's a woman, he's got a bad leg and he walks funny and he's nicknamed the Penguin. They're the least respected of everybody, but they're the smartest of everybody because they've had to be. And into this you have Vic, who's this young man who who lost his home during the end of the Batman, because of an event that happened. So this world, they actually show you what happens after the heroes save the city, and then there's been like damage done. What happened to people who were in the area where there's damage done? And this show actually looks at that and is like, well, they've lost their homes, and this guy lost his entire family, and he ends up doing a desperate move to try and get some money to survive. He ends up in the realm of the Penguin, who takes him under his wing, so to speak, and sees he's smart, and a kind of affection grows between them. And he's the one guy Penguin trusts to look after his mother who's got Alzheimer's and is ailing. And as you find out as the story goes on, some of her mental issues might be due to suppressed trauma. And as the series goes on, you find out much more about Ozzy's past with his mother, much more about why he's close to his mother, or maybe too close to his mother, what she wants from Oz, and also the reasons why Sophia lost her place in the family and why she ended up in Arkham. And basically, both of them kind of, Sophia and Oz are taking out people on their way as they go towards each other. You know, everyone else becomes a pawn in their battle against each other at a certain point, where it becomes obvious that there's been some betrayal going on, and I mean, basically Sophia wants to kill Oz, and Oz wants to avoid Sophia and build his business up, and to do that he needs to kill Sophia, basically. And basically how they turn people to their side, and what they use and how they use it, and slowly you see how they work, how their minds work by what they do throughout the series. I mean, there was a lot of plotting involved, but most of it is a character plotting, basically, where you're seeing them deal with issues and you're seeing them deal with problems. But the reason beyond just having a show is also each time they deal with a problem, you see their strengths and weaknesses, and you see much more the character through how they deal with these problems. And that's really what you want from a show or a drama, is like, yeah, there's plotting, but the plotting is illustrative of character. You get more and more the more you see Oz deal with people when he's on top or scrambling at the bottom to try and not be killed by various parties, and how he basically lies a lot, and how he basically manipulates, how he uses the fact that he's not trusted and he's viewed as a joke, how he uses that ultimately against people. Because, I mean, his status actually becomes an advantage at a certain point for him. And it's how he uses that. But it's also the cruelty he has to people and how he uses them for his own needs rather than through actual affection for them. People to him tend to be there for as long as he needs them. And then they're no longer there. And they're there for as long as they tell him what he needs to hear to keep moving forward. He's aiming for the top. And he has very few advantages, so he has to be utterly brutal. But he has to know the city better than everybody. He has to know all the details of what gangs do what states they are, where do they want to be, why aren't they there, and how do you manipulate that. Meanwhile, Sophia's family were the people in charge, and she has to deal with the remnants of the family, all of who are looking for to be. Her uncle becomes the boss of the family, but he's not exactly the most dynamic person. And it's like everyone's sort of jockeying for position within the family, and they're kind of out of touch with what's actually going to be going on in the new city, and dealing with the new world, and dealing with old rivals like the rival gang who's out to get them, even though the leader's in jail. And it's like it becomes this thing of Oz manipulating different people, all of whom don't trust him, but how he manipulates them all to basically kill each other for him, and how Sophia's doing her own version of that. Although Oz has a more desperate thing, because it's much easier for people to kill him just directly. She gets some protection because of who her family is, but even then it quickly becomes a liability, because they have their own politics involved, and how she deals with it is wonderfully dark. You know, and very direct. So this is a terrific show. The acting's terrific. The pacing of it's wonderful because each episode has a different problem to deal with. The way a TV show should, but it's always building to something bigger within the story. And so there's always a progression of the story. So by the time you get to the end, you feel you've had a story rather than just had a bunch of things happening. It's not like episodic where there's a lot of things happen, then the series ends, where a lot of TV shows are like that. This one, no, everything's building, and you're finding more and more about the characters, and you're finding more about what they are and what they're not, and so by the time you get to the end, you know who Oz is and who Sophia is a lot more, and who Vic is a lot more. And it's not going to happy places, you know, but it's also setting up where the Batman universe is going for within this area. I mean, there's one character's fate that I spotted fairly early, but it doesn't mean it wasn't satisfying. It was very satisfying for how they did it. But there was one thing, one character I thought, I figured out by fairly early on what was going to happen to them, and it did, but it doesn't matter because it was done really well, and it was like, by the time they got to that part of the story, they'd actually delivered a lot more than I expected them to deliver with that kind of character to create something, you know, fascinating, even though I kind of was ahead of the story in that bit. But this is a wonderful show. I'd highly recommend it. I don't want to see much more because I want you to go and watch it, but there's a lot of really fascinating things going on here, and it's well worth your time. So go watch The Penguin. It's for one of the few like superhero type stories that has worked recently, because it's not a superhero type story. It's a crime story within that world, and it's a hell of a lot better than the Joker films, which the first one got a lot of praise and the second one didn't, but to me the Penguin's better than either of them by quite a long way. So enjoy. Bye for now.